Mm. Oh, the thirst is real. Thirst is real. I have been so fucking thirsty lately. Not like thirsty, but like thirsty. Holy shit. I think I mentioned this last time. Um, just a lot of thirst. Let's get into it. What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of Full Black. I gotta do the masculine sensory punch to start every video because that's what we do over here. I'm your host Raja Burrows, and today we're talking about getting our needs met, specifically the needs of our demons. So this was something that I feel like I've lightly been alluding to and kind of dancing around, but I wanted to really make a video very specifically about like where the savior demon thing comes from, what it means to get needs met versus not met. Like there's a lot to it in a lot of ways, but it's not actually as complicated as it looks. It's very easy to get it all convoluted with the like, okay, well, this person is, I need this thing, but I'm not responsible for getting it, so I'm going to put it on someone else and then blame that other person if they're not meeting my need that I didn't tell them that oh, fuck me. Like, no, we don't need to go down that road. That is Winchester Mystery House brain. Absolutely not. We can really simplify this, and think of it in a way that I think is very, very practical, and that doesn't put blame necessarily on anybody. And so, one thing that I've really been processing and trying to understand is the very simple fact that we have 4 human needs. Everybody, all of us, has 4 human needs, right? The Tony Robbins: connection, significance, certainty, uncertainty. The trick is, debatably, the trick of all of human existence is learning to see them not as a hierarchy, but as a pie chart and as a dashboard console, rather than, well, I have this need first, and then this need, and then this need, and then this need. And that's where, when we talk about like, well, what's your genetic wiring and what are you predisposed to do? And, what are you going to do subconsciously? All of that. I think a lot of that comes down to not getting conscious and aware of the fact that you're looking at your human needs in a list in a linear way, and growth, evolution, enlightenment, whatever the fuck you want to call it, really comes from learning to flatten that pyramid and to be like, oh, wait a minute. These are just 4 things that I need. And then ultimately, right? And once you flatten it, once you put everything on the same level, now it becomes really, really, really fucking easy to see where the gaps are and to see what needs aren't getting met. So I'm an INTJ. Excuse me. I'm also a glass lizard. And I think that my glass lizardness, it's a hindrance, it's an asset, it's a whole fucking thing. As I mentioned in the like a demon analogy video, right? It's sort of like a typical INTJ is facing in one direction, right? Like a Tai Lopez is just like all in on one direction. But because I'm a glass lizard INTJ, my chair is tilted like this. So it's like, well, okay, yes, I'm mostly facing this direction, but I'm also like, I can play the EJ or the IJ card pretty easily, pretty effectively. And in my periphery is my last function, right? My SE at the bottom of my function stack, I don't have to work to see it. Like that's already in my 180 degree periphery. And it's not like this thing that I don't even know that I could be looking for, right? And so I bring that up because they were talking about, it was in some video they were talking about David Blaine. And so David Blaine, I think it was in the video about glass lizards, they brought up David Blaine. So he is an INTJ like me, and he's also a glass lizard INTJ like me, but he's going in the opposite direction, right? So he is a sleep, consume, play, blast, last INTJ, right? And they bring up what they said about him, and I just think it's funny as hell. Is they're like, yeah, the reason that he fucking looks like this all the time is because when you're so double conscious of that last function, it fucks up your whole alignment, right? There isn't, one of the reasons that I just failed catastrophically at doing the corporate America thing is because I'm a glass lizard. And it's because I was like, well, part of just corporate America and the way that works is it's all about figuring out what is your top human need, what niche do you fill, and then how can we slot you into this system. And basically it works if you don't care about your third and fourth needs getting met. Honestly, sometimes even your second need getting met, right? It's very much, okay, well, your top human need is organized. You are an IJ, great. You go here. And the rest of the machine runs and you do your IJ job and you're doing the thing. As soon as you give a shit about your other needs being met, we can't fucking help you. We got nothing, right? And that's not me. Like, maybe, like, I think what ended up happening in a lot of my jobs is they either thought that I was a blast sleep INTJ, or they're like, no, this man is pure skib. He's got a lot of DE, a lot of OE, a lot of gather energy. Yeah, so he's obviously going to do the gather thing, and then other people will fill in the gaps, and he, not worrying about those other needs getting met. But I'm like, no. I have multiple needs that I need balanced and that I need to have get met. And that's not how corporate America works. That's just not, that's not how the system is designed. So once I started to piece that together, I was like, oh, fuck, that's it. That's just the whole thing. It's realizing that what makes something a demon just means that you don't naturally prioritize that human need. That's the whole thing, right? So for me, my lead NI, I am aware of that need getting met, the need for certainty. I am consciously aware of, oh yeah, this is the thing I need. This is the thing I do all day. And I know that people, now here's what I will say. They used to say people type themselves upside down and backwards and all whatever the fuck. They have been saying that is happening less and less. I'm going with that. Because I do think that nowadays, if you ask people, like, what do you actually need the most of, they'll probably, I mean, at the very least, they'll tell you what the coin is, right? But I don't know, man. It's I think that nowadays, this is maybe wasn't true 10 years ago, and probably maybe even wasn't true when you were just getting people, typed who just had no fucking idea, who randomly stumbled upon it and just are living like idiots. But I've seen a lot of consciousness in a lot of different fields. And, even when it's just, so from my understanding, I've never had a call with Shan, and certainly not one that was like a typing call, because I got typed before they did those. But one thing that she talks about, like in all of her, calls, she's like, why do you want to get typed? And based on their answer, she's usually able to triangulate, and, a reasonable amount of time, right? They showed that pie chart and they're like, yeah, generally speaking, like some percentage will just fight us forever. But most people, like after a couple of weeks, like, oh my God, I really am doing that. Right. And I bring that up because what makes something a savior is that's just what we think of as being our first human need at the expense of our last human need. When in fact, there is no hierarchy. We just have four. Right? So with someone like David Blaine, the reason that he looks like he's dying all the time, ha ha ha, he, but it's like when you're conscious of multiple needs of yours, that fucks you up, man. That really fucks you up because our society is not built to meet multiple needs. It's like, all right, well, what is your priority need? Can we meet, like, we can meet one of your needs. Sometimes we can meet two, but we're not meeting 3 and 4. That's not how these large scale systems are designed, which is why it can be really traumatic at first to be like, holy fuck, I do have these needs, right? And it's why in all of these, the classic romantic comedy trope is, the Katherine Heigl character, she's like, she's successful at work, but she can't get a man to save her life. Enter Swagger Machismo Man, right? These were very popular in the early to mid 2000s. And I bring up Katherine Heigl because she did like a bunch of these movies. And that was also kind of her character on Grey's Anatomy, to the best of my knowledge. But that trope is the Katherine Heigl archetype is she's really, really good at connecting with people extrovertedly, but she ignores her own needs, right? She's like, I got TE on lockdown, kicking ass at work. But then as soon as it comes to like, oh, fuck, I actually have this other human need that I didn't even know mattered. And what's even crazier is when you're like, holy fuck, I didn't know that was allowed to matter. When you hear Shan talking about like, the DEs with the like, not allowed, right? It's like, I'm not allowed to have an opinion. What that's coming from is like, I'm not allowed to prioritize this demon's need, right? I am locked into this hierarchy of, well, my primary human need is my TE. My secondary human need, in her case, is the SE, right? Her tertiary human need would, I guess, be her NI, but again, that's where it gets fuzzy because she's a glass lizard, right? And then her last human need is her FI, which is, and that's where she gets fucked up, is because it's like, oh, well, I need to learn to see these in more of a balance, right? Which is why, like, Dave and I have talked about this a lot, is like seeing your human needs or your animals or your whatever as like a dashboard console on your car. And you're like, all right, well, I need this much, washer fluid, and I need this much gas, and I need, all right, the tire pressures are doing this, and ooh, yeah, those tire pressures, they are not looking good. When you're driving your car and you see it on a console, yes, there is, I guess, some amount of hierarchy. Like, if you don't have gas, you can't drive. But you can drive without washer fluid. You could probably drive if you're a little low on oil. If your tires don't have the right amount of pressure, you should just go to Just Tires. They'll do it for free. And then it's a 2-second process. Like, just get your tires pressure filled. It's not a big deal. But like, you generally, like, the way that it's displayed is you're like, all right, this is a need of my car. 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 And being able to see it that way rather than, oh, well, I have a full tank of gas, I'm fine. maybe, but maybe not. Like you can't just focus on this one thing. Or God forbid, if you're like, no, my car is fine. I have perfect tire pressure. You're like, who the fuck cares? If you're out of gas, your tire pressure doesn't mean dick. So that's, and then when you're like, but I had perfect tire, right? You're like, you run out of gas, you're stranded on the side of the road, and you're like, but I had perfect tire pressure. You know what I need to do? I need better tire pressure. And you're like, oh my fucking God, no, you do not. You do not need more tire pressure. Your tire pressure is fine. You need to acknowledge the other 4 parts of your dashboard, right? And again, it really does come down to getting all of your needs met and acknowledging that your demons have needs too. And going back to the Katherine Heigl thing, the sort of the opposite side of that trope, right, is when it's like, again, these are just the tropes. When you have, the woman who's in the relationship and she's like, I'm having trouble in my relationship, and they start yelling at each other, whatever. And there's always the big blow up fight. And at some point she's like, well, I have needs too. It's not all about you. Right. And then she storms off, and then the rest of the movie continues. Right. That trope, that archetype is the EJ believing that she didn't have a DI significance human need. She was like, well, I'm meeting this need of connection. She's like, I have, my super hunky boyfriend who's a fucking surgeon, whatever. I don't know. Right. And I have this really great job, and I have, these amazing friends, and then something will happen. And then she's like, but I'm not happy. Oh, right. I have needs too. And then, but you look at her and you're like, but you seem to be meeting a lot of the human needs. Like you have the connection to other people, like you have great friends and your super hunky boyfriend. And then, you got the certainty with your job, because you're kicking ass there and they're never going to fire you. And there's always a little bit of uncertainty because you do this thing, like I don't know what the fucking problem is. No, but I have needs. Oh, right. The DI need. Right. You're meeting all the other ones, but not that last one. Oh, okay. And the reason I wanted to talk about this is because I think that it'll offer a way into demon work that is way, way less traumatic and scary. Because listen, I love me some demon work. There is nothing that I want more than to just like dip in and out of the dark night of the soul. Like, let's fucking go. I'm all about it. But there's no reason that it has to be this big fucking traumatic thing. It just doesn't have to be. And I think that the way to get it to not be so traumatic, there are two ways to do it. One, start to slowly dip your toes in. Fine. But I think a much easier way is to just go into the entire process and accept, okay, I have 4 human needs. I have 4 buckets that just need to be filled. And then over time, I'm going to track and see like what buckets am I naturally filling myself. And then after a week, a couple of weeks, a month, you should have a data log to be like, oh, fuck, I am filling this bucket and this bucket a lot, and I am ignoring the fuck out of those 2 buckets. Okay, fair enough. But when you look at the 4 buckets just like from a top-down view, and you're just like, all right, it's this bucket and this bucket and this bucket and this bucket, rather than in a line of like, well, I have to fill this bucket first. And if I don't fill this bucket all the way to the top, then I can't do anything, right? Like, okay, great. I filled this one all the way. Let me now carefully put this one to the side. Nope. You know what? As soon as I move it, then this water's going to spill out, and I have to keep that bucket filled, right? And that's where you never make any progress, is because 2 buckets, you don't even get to them because you're so busy trying to fill your first one, right? And so I think that the easiest way to do that is to just be like, okay, I accept that I have 4 human needs: certainty, uncertainty, connection, and significance. And then you can go and be like, oh, fuck. Yeah, no, I'm meeting 2 of those. Like, I got the certainty on fucking lockdown, and I'm doing things in my life to give myself that sense of certainty. And I'm also doing a lot of things in my life, again, in my case, as a lead blaster. Yeah, I'm also doing a lot of things in my life to connect with others, making videos, taking classes, teaching, right? All of those things. Like, yeah, those 2 needs are getting met like crazy, but I'm neglecting often my need for uncertainty and also my need for significance, my need to feel like I inherently matter. Which is why in the thumbnail, I did this thing, right? Because this is one of those little things. These are a couple of talismans. I have a gemstone right on this necklace. I like this vibe. I like the way I wear it. It's where I wear the bracelets. And it's because I'm like, listen, I have this need for uncertainty and this need for significance. And this is a way that helps me access it, right? It's not the only way, but it's a way. And it's a way that I have started to become more conscious of adding into my life and not looking at it as something that's unimportant, doesn't need, right? So I never fell into this feeling of like, well, that's someone else's responsibility to make me feel loved. Maybe subconsciously that was it. That was certainly never, if that was it, that was not how I mentally organized it. For me, it was always, it's the, who wrote that song? But here we go. This was written by, George. God damn. All right. So this is a song written by George and Ira Gershwin for their musical Girl Crazy. This was from 1930, but it was made maybe most famous by Ella Fitzgerald in 1959. So says Wikipedia. I'm sure Frank sang it. Yeah, okay. Frank did sing it. I'm sure that one's great. Yeah, Miles did a version of it. Judy did it. Oh, it's a great fucking song. But I bring it up because it so encapsulates my feelings as somebody with demon FI. So I'm going to read you the lyrics. I might get verklempt, but here we go. Here's the chorus. They're writing songs of love, but not for me. A lucky stars above, but not for me. With love to lead the way, I found more clouds of gray than any Russian play could guarantee. I was a fool to fall and get that way. Hi ho, alas, and also lack a day. But still I can't dismiss the memory of her kiss. I guess she's not for me. Oh, what a great fucking song. God damn. But I bring that up mostly for the first couple of lyrics in that chorus. They're writing songs of love, but not for me. A lucky star is above, but not for me. And that's how I feel as a demon FI a lot of the time. This feeling of, oh, right, this thing called love and again, because for me, it's attached to my FI. you know, that's for somebody else. I acknowledge it that it exists as a human need, but that's not my human need. That's not what I need to focus my energy on, right? My responsibility is to organize things for the tribe, tell people what to do, enable love, right? I'm, feeling like, well, no, I'm the Yenta. I'm not one of the children who gets to fall in love. I've already, that has long since passed me by. I'm the matchmaker. Getting very musical theater in this video. Sorry, not sorry, I guess. But it's that feeling of like, right, that human need. I get that it's a human need, totally. But it doesn't matter. That's not for me. That's not my human need that needs to get met. And that has caused a lot of problems in my life, because here's what ends up happening. When you ignore a human need for too long, it will fucking force its way to the front of the line, right? So if you have a line of buckets you're trying to fill and you're like, I'm filling this first bucket. And then, I can pour it on something else, and I can, here's the organized bucket. Well, let me fill this organized bucket and pour it on this thing and pour it on that thing. And I'm going to fill the organized bucket some more and just all in on the organized bucket. And then, okay, I guess the second bucket, right, I'll give to other people, and the DE and the connect. And here's the giving of the buckets and the great, fine, whatever. But what will happen is, if that last bucket doesn't get any attention, it will just move to the front of the line and fucking demand to speak to the manager. You're like, I demand to speak to the manager. I need my bucket filled. And then that's where I get fucked up if I don't immediately go, oh my God, you are right. I am so sorry. Here, let me give you some love and attention. Let me do some DI things, and then, some OE things as well, right? Because here's the thing. Your demons are trying to talk to you all the time. All the time. All 4 of your human needs are working together to make you the whole, fully well-rounded, whatever human that you are and can be, right? It's happening all the time. So when you get, and again, here's where I think many people maybe screw it up, don't always realize, if you take care of your demon's needs right away, then your demon doesn't get mad at you, and it doesn't turn into a big fucking blow up. The only reason that you have these tidal waves, you meaning I, meaning everybody who has tidal waves, they only come about when things get ignored for too long. And the easiest way to get to start to not ignore things is just to know what to look for. And it doesn't even matter what fucking functions you have. And that to me is the beauty of OP. That's why I love this shit so much, is because it doesn't matter what fucking functions you have, whether you're, IJ, EP, ENTJ, glass lizard like Joe Rogan and shit. It doesn't fucking matter. We all have 4 needs. All 4 of those needs need to get met. I've mentioned this before, I'm sure, in other videos, but like the Maslow's hierarchy of needs is a total misnomer. Maslow did not invent them as being a pyramid or a hierarchy. He just saw these were the needs of, shelter, food, section, shelter. What are his needs? What are his 5? Okay, so we have physiological needs: food, warmth, water, rest. Safety needs, security and safety, right? Those are like your basic needs. And then belongingness and love and self-esteem, right? Those are your psychological needs. And then self-actualization, self-fulfillment needs, right? He did not see those as a pyramid. That was attributed to his work later, but he just saw like, yes, all of these are things that need to get met, right? And it got put into a hierarchy, but that's not really the best way to look at it, or even really what he intended, as far as I understand. And that's how we can look at, the Tony Robbins, the OP for human needs. certainty, uncertainty, connection, and significance is just like, oh, right, these are 4 needs that need to get met. No savior, no demon, there's no any of that. It's just these are the 4 needs. And you can start to notice, like, all right, well, that one's getting a little bit lower. Great. I'm going to invest in that. And then, I mean, look, if we really want to go fucking NI deep into this metaphor, we can see, like, oh shit, that bucket, that FI bucket is fucking rusty as hell. It's got holes in it, which is why it's not holding any fucking water, because it's rusted to hell. It's beat to shit. It's a shitty bucket that you haven't touched in 15 goddamn years. Of course it's not going to hold that much. Like, you need a new goddamn bucket, right? Or at the very least, in the meantime, get some duct tape, patch up the holes in the bucket, and then, you know, you can fill that in the time being, and then eventually over time, maybe you'll get a newer bucket, nicer bucket, better duct, whatever, right? That to me seems really doable. And it seems very, very sustainable, because what will end up happening is once you can start to see, maybe a top-down view isn't perfect because then you're not getting the depth. But if you're getting, like, you know, one of those 3/4 over-the-shoulder views, and you can sort of see, like, all right, yeah, this bucket is pretty full and this one isn't, and that one's there. All right, well, let me walk around and let me make sure that these buckets are getting the right amount of fullness and they're getting drained. And you know what? This FI is getting drained really, really quickly. What the fuck is drained? Oh, that's a big goddamn hole. Okay. Classic. This is a true story. I'm going to modify it slightly so as not to incriminate the actual people. So, like, I was dating this lady. We had gone on a couple of dates. Not a couple of days. No, we weren't seeing each other exclusively. Again, this is all I'm changing the circumstances. This is not true. You know, we're going on. We've been seeing each other for about 5 or 6 months, and then we had a couple of hiccups, and the communication wasn't great. And you know, it was somebody that we run in similar professional circles. And finally, like, after the 3rd or 4th time of it just not, like, miscommunication, that I tried to communicate and she wasn't having it, and then she would get mad at me for doing something she asked me to do because she had changed her mind. And then finally I was like, you know what? I think that we need to not see, like, we'll write out the month, but, like, let's not, like, I don't want this to be super abrupt because there are other professional things that we're involved with together. So, like, let's finish out those things and then go our separate ways. Right. And that is something that I've never really done before. But to use this bucket analogy, it was like, oh my God, this relationship was a massive hole in my FI bucket. And so rather than being like, oh, well, this isn't so bad, let me add more shit to this bucket so that it'll even it out. Or I could just plug the hole. I could remove the thing from my life. Again, nicely, I'm not going to be an asshole about it. But, like, removing this thing from my life that is causing me stress and anxiety and is depleting the fuck out of my FI, I can just patch that hole. And now that that's not being, you know, siphoned away, the stuff that I do pour into my FI bucket is actually going to stay there because there's nothing, you know, draining it to hell. And so that to me feels very, very doable. Because when we're talking, again, you can look at it as your FI or your TE or your whatever, the lead masculine, and it doesn't fucking matter. Does not matter. We just have 4 human needs. And it is our responsibility to ensure that all of those needs are sufficiently met. Now, sometimes that means filling them yourself, right? Sometimes that means aligning yourself with a partner, right? Like, I don't know, a healthy romantic relationship? You know, should we be so lucky writing songs of love, right? Of, you know, that you can let other people meet your needs, right? And you can meet their needs. And that's how relationships work and how friendships work and how people grow together, because they're helping each other meet each other's needs and getting more done together than they would if they were alone. Sorry, I'm getting verklempt talking about relationships. Right? And so it's not an all or nothing thing. It's not like, well, when I say I'm responsible for getting all of my needs met, that doesn't mean other people can't be part of the equation or aren't part of the equation or shouldn't be part of the equation. Absolutely, other people can and should be part of the equation. How the fuck else am I going to meet the human need of connection if not for other people? And, you know, being with somebody or doing something or being part of a community that makes me feel significant, welcome to the whole fucking human condition, right? But what we're saying when we're talking about responsibility is like, it's not, if you're all in on your DI and you're like, I'm amazing, I feel significant, nobody loves me, but I'm amazing, it's your responsibility to put yourself out there. It's not other people's responsibility to like see you cowering in the corner and being like, oh my God, I see that you're amazing, right? Even though every signal you're sending off is telling me to stay away. No, that's not how adulthood works. Grow the fuck up. Same on the other side, my DE being like, no, trying to connect with as many people as possible is not going to fill the hole in your heart if you don't take steps to actually heal those wounds and to patch those holes. It's not someone else's job to fix you. You have to do that yourself. And then once you do that work and start to heal your own wounds and start to recognize like, oh, right, this is a trigger that opens up shit that I don't want opened up, then the people in your life are going to stay there. And you'll be like, oh my God, this relationship is super, super fulfilling. And this one isn't. So I'm going to do the one that's fulfilling, right? So to sort of wrap up, I'm going to use the DEDI analogy, right? So let's say I have my bucket, right? And there's a huge hole in the bottom of the bucket. And then two people come along and one of them has like a gallon of water and one of them has a cup of water, okay? If there's a big enough hole in the bottom of the bucket, my bucket will remain empty regardless of how much water is poured in. But once I start to heal those wounds and start to fill in the gaps at the bottom of that bucket, well, now it becomes real obvious, real fucking quickly, who is more nourishing. Because the person who can only fill it a cup of the way, now I can see that that's staying there. And the person who's filling it a gallon, like, oh, whoa, there's a lot more here. Holy hell, there's a lot more here. You know what? I don't even need, I don't need to invest, emotional energy in this thing that isn't as nourishing. I just need to fill in these gaps and these holes because this other thing that's really, really fulfilling, yeah, I'm going to do that. And to bring it all the way back around, we can talk about savior work versus, going all in on your saviors. It's just making sure that your first two buckets are in pristine condition. That's it. And demon work, making sure that your other two buckets are in just as good of condition. Because one thing that happens, and this, my God, talk about a fucking pattern with me for the last 15 years, I'm slowly digging my way out of, is I could not distinguish between a relationship that was nourishing and one that was toxic. Couldn't fucking do it. Because my FI and also my SE bucket, my FI bucket in particular, was so fucked up that any amount of water would just go through it. So I was like, well, if everything is going to be unnourishing and unfilling, who the fuck cares? I'm just gonna, try to pour in whatever I can. But now that I've actually started to heal my FI, it's become very, very clear who in my life is incredibly nourishing. And those are the people that I really want to invest time and emotional energy in. So all of this is to say, we have 4 buckets. All of our buckets need our attention. And if you have a bucket, before you go to start to fill that bucket, start to patch some holes in that bucket. Because I'm sure there are holes in there. I'm sure there are things that are keeping you from getting your needs met. So it's just as important to patch those holes as it is to fill it with stuff. And look, maybe sometimes, like for me, for my FI, I had to get a whole goddamn new bucket because my FI bucket was so corrupted and rusted and whole and just fucking, and I always ignored. I was like, you know what? New bucket. I'm done. New York, musical theater, corporate, it's all fuck it. I just need a new bucket. And now, new bucket, it's scary to try to fill it and it feels really empty because it's such a small bucket, right? Or it's a big bucket and I don't know how to fill it properly yet. But I'm like, man, the stuff that I put in here actually is staying in here. Holy shit. Yes. Okay. This is a bucket worth investing in because whatever I put into it actually stays there. And when there's something like when a hole gets poked in it, I can be like, got it. You know what? Let me patch that hole real quick and then we'll keep going. So that's all I got for today. Buckets are the best. Your demons are awesome. There's no hierarchy. We all have human needs. And that's all I got for today. I will talk to you guys later. Bye.